And I'm not talking about a short break or a little vacation. I'm talking about completely disappearing. Their names showed up in newly released Epstein documents. Some of these names appeared over 1,700 times in the files. One celebrity was banned for life from his entire profession. Another lost his royal titles from his own mother. Yeah, you heard that right, his own mother.
Recent release of millions of pages of evidence from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation is drawing attention all over the world. This goes beyond...
Okay, so we all have been seeing Epstein files in our feeds. The one that was messy as hell.
7 celebrities have essentially disappeared from public life.
Ferguson has reportedly fled the United Kingdom as newly released Jeffrey Epstein emails drag the disgraced former Duchess back into the spotlight. The move comes just as bombshell messages made public by the U.S. Department of Justice reveal the extent of Ferguson's contact with Epstein years after his 2008 conviction for sex trafficking minors.
Jeffrey Epstein was involved in trafficking young people for inappropriate purposes. He died before his trial could even begin after being arrested. Now, the victims of Epstein and his longtime partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, who allegedly helped him recruit these individuals, are finally speaking out.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
No, I'd like to answer that question, at least today. I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
You know what that means, right? These individuals were very much part of Epstein's circle and social network. They knew exactly what he did to these young girls. And now, after their names got out, they've gone missing.
But that's not all. Every single day, new information is released. New names from the Epstein files become public. And these aren't just random people. These are names you actually know. Names nobody expected to see. Names that suggest these individuals were connected to the Epstein situation.
This is everything. The only solace for me is that when a group of people who've experienced trauma of this kind come together united against a common enemy, there's a very special bond between us all.
A painful bond shared among these 6 women sitting together for the first time.
They've gone into hiding, avoiding public scrutiny, distancing themselves from the entire situation, and hoping people will forget they were ever involved.
Somebody new in his life, he likes to see them a lot. So I went there a whole bunch of times and, it led to, unfortunately, he forced me to have sex with him, basically.
Today, I'm revealing those names, and you'll be shocked by how closely they were connected to Jeffrey Epstein. No amount of hiding can erase it. The files are public and new details continue to emerge. Before we get into the celebrities, here's the context. Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire accused of trafficking young people for improper purposes. This wasn't a small operation. It was alleged to have been systematic misconduct that went on for years.
We want them to be held responsible.
I never honestly even thought about that. When it comes down to it, yes, there's a lot of people that you could point fingers and blame, but I'm not blaming anybody. I'm sure they knew, though. That's more on their conscience.
His partner in all of this was Ghislaine Maxwell. She helped recruit and groom the victims, playing a key role in the operation. The timeline matters. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and then died before his trial could take place, raising many questions.
What is it that drives you today, Virginia? Is it the sadness? Is it the anger?
It's the responsibility in my eyes. I mean, of course, there is sadness, there is anger, there's scars that will never heal, ever. But to me, more than anything, it's a responsibility that I have. And I implore the community to please stand next to me and help me bring down all these bad people. And if you've got somebody in your life that's doing this to you too, speak out, stand up. The times are changing as they should be, and it's a good time to start holding these monsters accountable.
His partner in all of this was Ghislaine Maxwell. She helped recruit and groom the victims, playing a key role in the operation. The timeline matters. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and then died before his trial could take place, raising many questions.
Was a guest at Windsor Castle and at Sandringham. He was brought right into the heart of the royal family at your invitation.
But certainly at my invitation, not at the royal family's invitation. But remember that it was his girlfriend that was the key element in this. He was the, as it were, plus one to some extent in that aspect.
Am I right in thinking you threw a birthday party for Epstein's girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, at Sandringham?
No, it was a shooting weekend.
A shooting weekend?
Just a straightforward shooting weekend.
But during these times that he was a guest at Windsor Castle, at Sandringham, the shooting weekend, we now know that he was and had been procuring young girls for sex trafficking.
We now know that. At the time, there was no indication to me or anybody else that that was what he was doing.
What's in the files? Names, flight logs, emails, photos, evidence of who knew what and when. Even more troubling, some of the people mentioned weren't just casual acquaintances. They remained close to Jeffrey Epstein even after his 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor. One of the most notable figures is Prince Andrew. Once considered a favored son of Queen Elizabeth II, his public role sharply declined due to his association with Epstein. Andrew had known Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for years, stayed at Epstein's properties, and was photographed walking with Epstein in Central Park in 2010 after Epstein had been released from prison.
Her Majesty stripped his brother of all titles and evicted him from Royal Lodge over his connections to Epstein. And now Andrew has appeared again in a trove of 3 million newly released files. Buckingham Palace has declined to comment, but insiders reportedly said providing testimony is now a matter for Andrew and his conscience. They also said those who have information that could help with the investigation should participate in any inquiry. It is also understood King Charles was not aware of the connections between his brother and Epstein in the files before their release on Friday. Buckingham Palace appears to be learning about the new material at the same time as the public. Palace sources have said that demands to speak to authorities is a matter for Andrew, but it is also a matter for his conscience. It is telling that the palace continues to refer to its statement issued after the October stripping of titles, when a spokesperson said these censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. The King and Queen also pointedly stated last October that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse.
By that point, everyone knew who Jeffrey Epstein was, a convicted offender. Yet Prince Andrew was still seen publicly walking with him in Central Park. Reports also claimed Epstein helped cover $15,000 in debt for Andrew's ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. More seriously, Virginia Giuffre accused Andrew of misconduct when she was 17, alleging that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked her to him.
Jenny, does it surprise you that these revelations just keep coming and now not only involve Andrew but also Sarah?
Yeah, it's astonishing, isn't it, Eamon? I did think that at the end of last year perhaps we'd seen the worst of it, but we have not, clearly. And I think what has struck me about this latest batch of emails is, as you suggest, the number that implicate Sarah Ferguson as well. Clearly she had a very, very close relationship with this man, Epstein, that she called my dearest friend, that she said was a legend. And in these latest emails, we even see that she involved her daughters in her friendship with Epstein. And that I find very depressing. I mean, Sarah has always been, in many ways, quite a likable person, and I hesitate to criticize another mother's parenting, but I do ask, what kind of mother would take her daughters, then aged 19 and 20, to Miami?
The BBC interview in November 2019 was a disaster for Prince Andrew. He offered bizarre excuses, claiming he was at Pizza Express in Woking and that he doesn't sweat due to an adrenaline overdose. Instead of clearing his name, it made things worse. BY May 2020, he stepped back from public royal duties. In January 2022, Queen Elizabeth II stripped him of his military titles, royal patronages, and his HRH title. In February 2022, he settled with Virginia Giuffre to avoid trial. His charitable trust shut down, the Duke of York Young Champions Trophy ended, and now he has essentially vanished from public life.
Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has been dropped from several charities after a leaked email showed her apologising to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. Let's go live to 9 Europe correspondent Hannah Sinclair. Hannah, what exactly did the email say?
Well, Sarah, the bombshell email was reportedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2011 and shows Sarah Ferguson apologising for linking him to pedophilia, and she describes him as a supreme friend to her. But a spokesperson for the Duchess of York claims she only sent the note because Jeffrey Epstein was threatening to sue her for defamation. At least 6 charities have now cut ties with Sarah Ferguson, including one she has been a patron of for 35 years. The UK charities are saying it would now be inappropriate for her to stay involved with the organisation.
Prince Andrew, once everywhere at royal events and parades, is now mostly confined to Royal Lodge in Windsor, rarely seen in public. His associations made him too controversial for the royal family, and the silence says it all. Sarah Ferguson's connection to Jeffrey Epstein also goes back years. Through Andrew, she entered Epstein's social circle and developed a close relationship with him. A 2011 email showed her apologizing to Epstein, calling him a supreme friend. Though her spokesperson said it was sent under threat of a defamation suit, at least 6 charities cut ties with Ferguson, including one she'd supported for 35 years. Reports reveal Epstein may have financially assisted her for up to 15 years, highlighting the depth of their connection.
Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has been dropped from several charities after a leaked email showed her apologising to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. Let's go live to 9 Europe correspondent Hannah Sinclair. Hannah, what exactly did the email say?
Well, Sarah, the bombshell email was reportedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2011 and shows Sarah Ferguson apologising for linking him to pedophilia, and she describes him as a supreme friend to her. But a spokesperson for the Duchess of York claims she only sent the note because Jeffrey Epstein was threatening to sue her for defamation. At least 6 charities have now cut ties with Sarah Ferguson, including one she has been a patron of for 35 years. The UK charities are saying it would now be inappropriate for her to stay involved with the organisation.
In March 2011, it was revealed that Jeffrey Epstein paid $15,000 to clear a debt for Sarah Ferguson. She apologized, calling it a gigantic error of judgment, but new reports suggest Epstein may have supported her financially for up to 15 years. Emails from 2009 show Ferguson asking Epstein for business advice and calling him the brother she always wished for after his 2008 conviction. She even visited his Florida home with her daughters shortly after his release. In 2011, she emailed him praising him as a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend. Reportedly after he threatened her reputation, the fallout was severe. By 2025, 7 charities cut ties with her, and in 2026, her own charity, Sarah's Trust, closed. She and Prince Andrew were reportedly asked to leave Royal Lodge. What seemed like one mistake in 2011 turned into years of repeated contact and praise for Epstein, leaving the public stunned. Meanwhile, Bill Gates began meeting Epstein in 2011, despite his 2008 conviction, visiting his New York townhouse multiple times through 2014.
Every minute I spent with him, I regret and I apologize that I did that.
Part of that issue of trust brings me to Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know what your relationship with him.
Yeah, I met Jeffrey in 2011. So over a period of 3 years, I had a number of dinners with him. The focus was always, he knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. In retrospect, that was a dead end, and I've said many times, but I'll say again, I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
Bill Gates claimed his meetings with Jeffrey Epstein were about charity. Epstein supposedly could help raise billions for the Gates Foundation. But it never materialized, and by 2014, Gates's team cut ties. In 2026, unverified documents surfaced, including draft emails Epstein wrote in 2013 that were never sent. These emails contained serious allegations about Gates's personal life and behavior.
Well, let me say this. I think we're having a reckoning as a society, right? No girl should ever be put in the situation that they were put in by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him. No girl I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right? I remember being those ages those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So for me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage, but I have moved on from that. I purposely.
Bill Gates strongly denied Epstein's claims, calling them false and defamatory. His team says Epstein was vindictive and upset the relationship ended. Gates flew on a plane linked to Epstein in 2013 but insists he never visited Epstein's private island. The Epstein connection reportedly contributed to Gates's divorce from Melinda French Gates in 2021. He's apologized repeatedly, calling the meetings a huge mistake, but his reputation took a hit, and every new Epstein document keeps him defending himself. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet several times between 2002 and 2003 after leaving the White House. His team claims the trips, dubbed controversially, were for Clinton Foundation work in Africa and Europe.
US President Donald Trump has asked his country's top law enforcers to investigate the relationship between ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein and former President Bill Clinton. Live now to US correspondent Rob Scott. Rob, this is just the latest escalation in a scandal that won't go away.
Yeah, that's right, Eddie. And look, it's a big shift in direction from Donald Trump, who, as we know, has spent the better part of the last few months trying to get people to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Every time his name is raised or the story is brought up, he says it's nothing but a Democrat hoax. But it looks as though now he is trying to control the narrative more with this investigation. After thousands of emails from Epstein's estate were released by US lawmakers this week.
Then flight logs revealed Bill Clinton was on over 20 flights with Epstein, often accompanied by his Secret Service. Epstein also donated to the Clinton Foundation and had visited the White House in the early 90s. In 2002, Clinton went to Epstein's New York apartment, and one of Epstein's employees, Johanna Schoberg, testified that Epstein made troubling comments about Clinton's preferences directly from her testimony.
Surprised by the number of photos of Bill Clinton in the Epstein files, and can you commit to their full release by the end of the year? Some of the victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they give me their photos of me too. Everybody was friendly with this guy, either friendly or not friendly, but he was around. He was all over Palm Beach and other places.
Bill Clinton has consistently denied ever visiting Epstein's private island and says he cut off contact around 2005 before Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction. Importantly, no victim has accused Clinton of illegal wrongdoing, and law enforcement has not charged him with any crimes related to Epstein.
Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have both agreed to testify in the House investigation into Jeffrey Epstein.
It's unclear still this morning when and where they'll testify, but the couple initially refused to appear after being subpoenaed before the Republican-led Oversight Committee. Now, the committee later voted to advance contempt resolutions against the Clintons.
The former president has denied any wrongdoing and says that he cut ties with Epstein before he was accused of having sex with a minor.
In 2025, Republicans in Congress subpoenaed Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton over their Epstein connections. When they initially declined, Congress threatened contempt charges in January 2026. By February, they agreed to testify in closed-door depositions to avoid a full contempt vote. Although no criminal charges or victim accusations exist against Clinton, newly released 2026 documents revealed the FBI had reviewed allegations, some deemed not credible. Still, his long-standing association with Jeffrey Epstein continues to fuel scrutiny. Meanwhile, in November 2025, thousands of emails involving Larry Summers were released, triggering major backlash and severely damaging his reputation.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities, but for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. So, with your permission,
Larry Summers had been known to be friendly with Jeffrey Epstein for years, but newly released emails showed they were still in contact as late as July 5th, 2019, just one day before Epstein was arrested on federal charges. Critics argue that by then, Epstein's history was widely known, raising serious questions about why the relationship continued.
Tonight, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, a former Harvard professor herself, is calling on the school to cut ties with the former university president and current faculty member Larry Summers. That's because Senator Warren says that Summers cannot be trusted, that's her quote, after new details emerged regarding his close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. All of this revealed in last week's release of Epstein's private emails. Larry Summers served as Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary, and in Barack Obama's administration, he was the director of the National Economic Council. These new emails revealed comments that Summers made as he also sought out dating advice from Jeffrey Epstein. That includes the morning of March 17th, 2019. Let's see these emails here where Summers and Epstein were exchanging multiple emails debating Summers and whether or not he should send a note to a romantic interest.
The most controversial allegation is that in 2018 and 2019, Larry Summers allegedly sought advice from Jeffrey Epstein about pursuing a personal relationship with a younger female economist who had been his mentee. Critics argue that involving Epstein, already a convicted offender, made the situation even more troubling and raised serious ethical concerns.
Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren calling on Harvard University now to cut ties with faculty member and former President Larry Summers for his ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. New details of their friendship came to light last week when lawmakers released years' worth of Epstein's emails. Senator Warren says Summers cannot be trusted with students given his relationship with Epstein. She tells CNN today, quote, "For decades, Larry Summers has demonstrated his attraction to serving the wealthy and well-connected, but his willingness to cozy up to a convicted sex offender demonstrates monumentally bad judgment."
The emails show Epstein referring to himself as Summers' helper in this regard. They're joking about it like it was totally normal, like this was just regular conversation. It's highly inappropriate.
And Hallie, briefly, I do want to ask about Larry Summers. We mentioned at the top there. Can you remind our viewers what was in these emails with Epstein that are causing him to now step back from the public eye?
Yeah, just extensive correspondence between the former Treasury Secretary under former President Bill Clinton, he's also the former Harvard president, and Epstein, including the most recent message on, I think it was the day before Epstein was arrested in 2019. And so at this point now, you are seeing some of the fallout envelop Larry Summers. He has now stepped down from the board of OpenAI, for example. Harvard's student newspaper, The Crimson, reports that Harvard is opening an investigation into the ties between Epstein and Summers. Summers himself has said he deeply regrets the association and the correspondence, essentially, and that at this point, Zinkley and Kate, he is stepping back from his public commitments right now.
Emails reportedly show Jeffrey Epstein referring to himself as Larry Summers' helper in the matter, with the exchanges framed casually, as if it were normal conversation. Critics have described the tone as highly inappropriate, especially given Epstein's criminal history and the professional dynamics involved.
Hey everybody, you're about to watch a video on Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary who's caught up in the Epstein file scandal because he basically was corresponding with the guy for a lot of time, even after the first trouble. Before you watch this, I just want you to know, we recorded this earlier in the day, JVL and I, to talk about whether or not institutions should, sever ties with the guy. And it turns out by the time that this thing was about to publish, Larry Summers had put out a statement saying he was going to step back from public life. Here's what it read. It says, "I'm deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein. While continuing to fulfill my teaching obligations, I will be stepping back from public commitments as one part of my broader effort to rebuild trust and repair relationships with the people closest to me."
Reports say that in 2005, while serving as Harvard's president, Larry Summers visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island. He also sought donations from Epstein connected to his wife's academic work at Harvard. Despite Epstein's 2008 conviction, the two reportedly stayed in contact for more than a decade, discussing both professional and personal matters.
The paper does manage to make it clear that you were not aware of Epstein activities. Did you know who he was?
Yes, I knew him.
I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend Flavio. He was always front and center at Victoria's Secret shows.
Did you suspect what he was doing?
No. And what he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else. Because I've had my fair share of sexual predators, and thank God that I had good people around me that protected me from this. I mean, right now I stand with the victims. I can't, they're scarred for life,
How many people do you think you have rubbed shoulders with, as the Mail on Sunday put it?
I've rubbed shoulders with hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, I find it extraordinary that of all the hundreds of thousands of people that I've stood next to take a picture at a public event, they've only chosen these few. It's going to be very difficult to be photographed at public events because you're going to think if you do take a picture, it's going to be taken out of context and used in a negative way.
Newly released emails also showed Larry Summers making inappropriate remarks about women and workplace misconduct. He was even listed as an executor in an early draft of Jeffrey Epstein's will, though he says he never knew about it. When this surfaced in November 2025, the fallout was swift. Summers resigned from multiple boards, including OpenAI, and on December 2nd, 2025, the American Economic Association imposed a lifetime ban. Harvard also launched a review into potential policy violations. Summers apologized, calling it a major error in judgment, but his reputation suffered severe damage. As for Naomi Campbell, she has not been accused of wrongdoing. However, flight logs show she flew on Epstein's jet in 2002, and her name appeared in his address book. Photos also place her with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at social events, raising public scrutiny over the association.
Many of you probably know who this guy is, and if you don't, you're going to learn. He's a relevant person in the culture. His name is Peter Attia, and he wrote a monster book that still hits the bestseller list called Outlive. He has a very popular podcast called Peter Attia Drive. He's a doctor who never completed his residency and has never been board certified, but he's got a private practice, and to get in to see him, he charges between at least $100,000 and $150,000 per year. I've heard numbers up as high as $200,000. And it's not just that his name or his contact info surfaced in the Epstein files. He was emailing with Jeffrey Epstein in a very, very chummy, sexually charged way.
Here's what came out. Attia met Epstein in 2014 while raising money for research. He saw him 7 to 8 times in New York, but the emails? Really problematic. In 2016, Attia made an inappropriate joke. I'm not going to repeat the exact words. It's highly inappropriate. In another email, he wrote, "I go into withdrawal when I don't see him." Like Epstein was his best friend, like he was dependent on hanging out with this man.
He wrote to Epstein, Attia did, quote, "Pussy is indeed low carb. Still awaiting results on gluten content, though." This is how these people try to impress each other. He thinks I'm going to make Jeffrey Epstein laugh. I'm going to make Jeffrey Epstein like me. Now, after this broke, Peter Attia wrote a lengthy apology explanation that he posted on X, which is really not the place, Peter. I mean, it's for pithy stuff on X, but he wrote a very lengthy, oh God. So he said he wrote it to his team and he made it public. So, that everybody could know. To be clear, Attia wrote, "I was not involved in any criminal activity. My interactions with Epstein had nothing to do with his sexual abuse or exploitation of anyone."
Naomi Campbell has acknowledged knowing Jeffrey Epstein, saying she was introduced to him by Flavio Briatore. Flight logs show she flew on Epstein's jet in 2002, and her name appeared in his address book. She has denied knowledge of his crimes and rejected guilt by association, stating she was disturbed when the allegations became public. She has not been charged with any wrongdoing related to Epstein, though the scrutiny has affected her public image. Separately, in 2024, she was banned for 5 years from serving as a charity trustee in the UK over financial misconduct findings tied to her organization, Fashion for Relief, an action she is contesting in early 2026. A major document release also drew attention to Peter Attia. Newly released files reportedly mentioned his name more than 1,700 times, triggering intense public scrutiny.